Welcome to Pods with Posh and Paul, a podcast designed to inspire and challenge listeners through story, experience and insight. To face adversity, learn from suffering and discover how to embrace life with a heart filled with love and gratitude. We are so thrilled to have you journey with us and can't wait to share your stories. Join Sue O'Callaghan and Joanne Webb as we disrupt the theory that everyone has perfect lives.
Hi Sue, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm sitting at my desk where you used to be. You used to be sitting here and I would be sitting here, so I'm missing you, but it's good to see you on screen, and I'm sure all our listeners too are loving the fact they can connect with their friends online.
Yeah, no, it's great, isn't it? And we had nothing, it's not stopping us from carrying on with our day-to-day job, is it? Which is great.
Not at all, and that's part of empowerment, isn't it? Stepping out of fear and carrying on doing the things that we want to do. So what is your interpretation of empowerment, Jo? What did you come up with?
Well, empowerment for me is definitely living life true to your values, being able to say no when you want to say no, and yes when you want to say yes, because it works both ways. Sometimes we are quick to say no rather than saying yes. To not always put everybody else's needs before your own. And just to stand within your power, know who you are, and know why you're living by the values you are. And
that rings true to what you're always teaching. You're a big teacher on self-love, and we did a few days ago on self-care, didn't we? So actually it embraces all those different aspects as well, taking care of ourselves. For me, a big part of it also is stepping away from fear. And I think there's so much fear at this time, isn't there? There's so much on the news. There's so much comparisons between the growth charts of Italy and China and where we are at, all the different countries that. And I think the more you read the news, you can partner with fear in terms of the escalating cases, the escalating deaths, the symptoms that appear, the difficult situations people find themselves in. And so a big part of our talk today is also to empower people away from fear. What can we actually do to reduce the fear that we partner with at this time? Because it does cripple, doesn't it? Fear cripples people.
It can do, absolutely, yeah. And I think, but that's also getting into that mindset where we start to worry about things that we don't know if they are going to happen or not. So, of course, there's atrocities happening all the time, and I'm not diminishing people's feelings about anything. And there's people out there who can't see their loved ones, there's people at death's door, there's lots and lots of sadness out there, and if we think about that, it can engulf us. I mean, we have to think about it from a human rights aspect as well. Of course, we have to all be aware of that kind of stuff, but if we allow that to engulf us, then it's going to just spiral us out of control, and it's not actually going to be very helpful for us and our mental health. And that's what you and I are big advocates about, Sue. We're advocates about improving mental health and improving mental fitness. And I literally cannot watch the news from morning through till night, because if I do, because I'm highly sensitive, it takes over me. I feel every little bit of pain, every bit of sadness. Now that's not empowering for me. No. I know it's happening. So what can I do in the world? What can I do to make it better for me, my family, and the outer world, the outer community? Well, the first thing I can do, which may sound really selfish, but the first thing I can do is look after me and my mental health, because if I'm not in a good space, how can I help anybody else? And all that you and I do, Sue, is help other people. We come on this, and people who don't know us don't really, we look bright and breezy. We look like we haven't got a care in the world. We have got huge amounts of cares. We have got huge amounts of responsibility. You and I are forever helping suicidal teenagers, families in strife. And a lot of the work we do is not paid work. A lot of it's pro bono. We're there at the end of the phone for a lot of people who are in difficulties. Yeah. So if we do not look after ourselves, how can we be there to look after other people?
And I think you said something quite critical there, is that you're quite sensitive. So you pick up on the depressing side maybe of the news and the media. And therefore, for our listeners, it's a question of being aware of how sensitive you are and how much information you can take in. Some people are much more strategic and factual other people are much more emotional and caring, and that's just different natures according to what we've been brought to do on earth. But actually where you are at, it's really worth analyzing how much information you can take in. And if you are on overwhelm, again, it comes down to goal setting. That was day number 2, is if you are the sort of person that is in overwhelm because of what you're hearing on the media and the news, then it's up to you to set those goals and say, I'll just skim read the news this morning, or I won't read the news at all, or I'll find out what's important in my area, because I know that in Devonport, where we live in Auckland, things are changing each day and we need to stay up with what we can and can't do. And so I think first thing is actually to be aware of how much information do I need to know, how much am I partnering with fear because of the information I'm taking on board, and then how can I step in and re-empower myself, which is, as you say, Jo, it's to step into our authority. And if you're caring for others, especially if you're caring for teenagers, children, if you're a first-time mum, if you're a father looking after your family, whatever situation you find yourself in, step into your authority and step back into your power. So how do we do that? It's one thing to say it, isn't it? But it's something else. How do we do it?
I think as well, we've got so many pressures from media, social media, of how we should live our life, what it should look like. And there's some pressures from maybe, keeping up with the Joneses and things like that. It's actually going back to basics, finding out what is important to you, what makes you resonate. How do you live being your authentic self? What does that look like to you? Can I read this little poem out that I found today about empowerment, which I thought was lovely? Because it's all about, rather than thinking about other people, it's about coming to within yourself. And I think this explains it really nice. It's very female based, but obviously it works both ways, but I'll read it out as it comes. It says, one morning she woke up different, done with trying to figure out who was with her, against her, or walking down the middle because they didn't have the guts to pick a side. She was done with anything that didn't bring her peace. She realised that opinions were a dime a dozen, validation was for parking, and loyalty wasn't a word, but a lifestyle. It was this day that changed her life. And not because of a man or a job, but because she realised that life is way too short to leave the key to your happiness in someone else's pocket.
I love that. It's great, isn't it? Because actually you're leaving the key to your happiness in the pocket of the media or the news, actually, if you're partnering with that, aren't you? I love it.
And it doesn't even have to be the word happiness. It can be power or anything, can't it? If you're going to hand over what's inside you to somebody else and live your life by their rules, by their expectations, by society's expectations, then that's not congruent necessarily with who you are. It's taking a step back, going back to basics, realizing what is and isn't important, and living in line with that for you.
And also the authority that we have as parents in our homes to create a happy atmosphere, because if we're carrying that stress, you've already said, we can't look after other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really funny. We were watching a movie yesterday and a friend called and he said, oh, can you ask Henry for a joke? And Henry is really good at jokes. So he needed a work for a joke. He needed a joke to tell at work. So Henry said, Henry, who's dyslexic, by the way, he said, so what does DNA stand for? And he said, I don't know. What does DNA stand for? And he said, National Dyslexic Association. So I absolutely laughed my head off. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And now listen, nothing against dyslexic. My son is dyslexic. I've taught dyslexics for 8 years in a school. So I love dyslexic students, and their strengths actually are incredible because they have amazing spatial awareness and they have strengths that we don't have. So it's not about the weaknesses. It's just hysterical. But the point of telling you the story is that I laughed and laughed to the point I wet myself. And it wasn't that funny a joke, but I did. And then suddenly the whole room broke into laughter. And after I put the phone down, then we all laughed again about it. And it was just incredible. And I was reading also the fact that, we do release chemicals when we laugh to heal our bodies. And it just takes the stress away. Now you can compare the two different situations, the fear and the sense of empowering yourself with humor. When you sit around the table at night, tell jokes, have a laugh, think of some funny things that happened in the past so that you release those chemicals as well in your children. In my household, it can get quite stressful. We've got 4 lots of teen, early 20 hormones going on, and it can get quite stressful. Part of my role is to break the atmosphere, to re-empower the situation, not just the individuals. with humour. And that's a choice, isn't it? We can choose to do certain things. Now, the other things we've also talked about are self-care. It's about looking after our immunity by exercise, diet, and sleep. So we can re-empower ourselves. We can empower our health. And you're so good at that, Jo. We can also limit the bad food we're eating. It's not just, choose good food, but it's very easy in a stressful situation to choose the sugar food and to stock up the fridge or the freezer with that sugar food, carbohydrates. Practice gratitude is another one that we talk about a lot, isn't it, Jo? To actually choose gratitude and thankfulness, to be grateful, although we're shut inside, maybe grateful for the opportunity we've got to rebuild family where it's been broken or relationships need to connect.
I think gratitude is the biggest roads to empowerment as well, really. It's one of the biggest roads to happiness and finding inner peace, but also to empowerment. You find all those things that you're grateful for, and then all of a sudden you have less to be ungrateful for as well. Do you know what I mean? There's less to moan about. The more you can show gratitude, and then as soon as you start to get into that worry spiral or that fear spiral, bring yourself back into gratitude. Find something to be grateful for there and then, breathe, take in. Can you see a flower? Can you see the sunshine? Can you breathe in some fresh air? Can you go and get some clean water from the tap? Simple things to be grateful for. It's so empowering.
Yeah, and these are simple tools, aren't they? When you say, how can you re-empower yourself? How can you take back your authority? If something negative has happened in your family or to you, you choose not to partner with it. You choose not to talk about it. You choose not to engage with it. And that's a choice. You can choose to do that, or you can choose, as you say, to partner with gratitude, thankfulness, and just to look at a flower, look at the sun that's shining, or look at the clouds that come over because they're going to bring rain. We need rain. So
because at the end of the day, we are in New Zealand, in the UK, in some states of America, we're in lockdown. There's other and other places in Europe, and then there's other countries that have got jurisdictions on what they can and can't do. So we're all kind of going into a similar direction. So at the end of the day, that is some kind of power. We have been told that we need to do something. So people could go, oh, but I'm not allowed out, I'm not allowed to do that. As soon as you go into that mode, oh, but we can't do this, I can't go to work, then you're in disempowerment, aren't you?
Yeah, totally.
You go straight into disempowerment. You go straight into victim mode. That is not gaining your power. No, we cannot change the situation immediately. However, if we think about it differently, I am staying inside to keep safe. There was this amazing, amazing article written by a doctor in Wellington, an ICU doctor. And he said, if you can stay inside, if you can obey the rules, you will save more people than I can save in my entire career. Please do. We have got some of the best ICU in the world. I didn't realise. People joke about it. Apparently, let's get on a plane to New Zealand if you're going to need that kind of treatment, because we have got the most amazing, amazing staff here. And just the power that he gave back to us, it was so humbling from this amazing, amazing doctor who saves lives every day, putting the power back onto us. You stay inside, you will save more lives than I can in my entire career. I just thought that is so empowering.
Yeah.
And such a lovely way to think about it, rather than going, oh, I'm stuck inside, I can't see my friends, I can't see my family. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be some really heartbreaking situations where people can't go and see their friends and family. I am not taking any of that away. However, for the Joe blogs who are just stuck inside and maybe moaning, change your thought pattern. I am saving lives.
That's the other one, isn't it? Because one of the things about staying at home is that the essential workers are out there doing such amazing work, and we have to honour our essential workers. All you out there that are working in supermarkets, stocking shelves, doing all the driving, in healthcare, in pharmacies, we just so honour you and thank you on behalf of our listeners as well for doing what you do when the rest of us are at home. But it's very easy to sit at home and think, I can't make a difference. I'm actually not doing anything. I'm not at my work. I'm just at home. I want to make a difference. And as you say, we are actually making a difference. We're making a huge difference. We are saving lives by not going out and choosing to meet our friends, not going for a walk with a person that we think also doesn't have it, so it's quite safe to do so. By making decisions to listen to the rules, as we talked about yesterday on our podcast, or was it Saturday? Saturday's podcast was listening to rules. We can make such a huge difference. We are actually saving lives. One interesting thing, I was looking up how to empower ourselves and what aspects of empowerment there are. And it listed 4 things. It said 1 is information. So we're empowered when we have information. That's what we talk about, how much information do we need. But and I always say to my children and students that I work with, don't make decisions unless you've got all the information at hand. Make a decision based on every bit of information you can find. So empower yourself with information, don't over empower yourself. Participate. When we are participating and we're involved in something, we're also empowered. When we sit back and don't get involved, we're disempowered. Accountability is a really important one, I think. Are we accountable, and are we in integrity? Are we in autonomy as well? And also, what's our organizational ability? Are we able to be organized in the responsibility we've been given? So different aspects of being empowered. And it relates to not just our feelings and our emotions, but our beliefs, our opinions, our wants and our needs. So we have to realize as individuals, whoever's listening, you are in New Zealand, we call it a bubble, the people that we're living within lockdown. There's a varied group of beliefs and opinions and feelings and needs within that. And how do you empower the group so that it's not just your needs that are met, but how do you meet the needs of different members of that family or the friends that you're living with? And it was interesting because we had a family discussion a couple of days ago with my eldest that's moved back from England University, my second that's come back from a New Zealand university. They're used to being independent. They're used to living with their friends, shopping and cooking for themselves. And one of them said, but I don't want to be part of the family. I don't want to mix. He was grieving. And the other said, that's not fair. We want to play with you. We want to talk to you. And I just said, do you know, it's actually okay if he sits in his room and does what he wants to do. He doesn't have to be part of the family in the sense of all watching a movie together. If that's what he wants to do, now he just needs some time to come to terms with being back in New Zealand. But actually it's about empowering people that their needs and wants might not be what the common group wants as well. And that is okay. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's not a personal jibe if your child just wants to go off and have that time out, or your partner even, or because we're going to be in the same bubble for quite a few weeks. So if somebody doesn't want to spend some time with you one night, don't take it personally. Think about their needs. That's a really good thing to think, because what we all too often do, and I see this when I coach couples on communication, one of them might say something, the other one takes it on board as if it's a personal thing to them. No, you put it back onto them. They're not coming at you with something. It's just their needs. And if we listen to each other and actually can speak our needs, it's such a healthy thing to do. That's really empowering if we can actually say out loud what it is we need or don't need.
Communication, Jo, you've just hit on that topic, which I think is so important. We used to have a game we used to play when my children were little, and we used to have a family meeting and everyone would speak about their needs, but it's so easy for one person, normally me, to do all the talking. So what we used to do, we used to have a stone, and the person that had the stone was allowed to talk and nobody else was allowed to speak. And it was a really good way for everybody to have a turn at speaking, everybody to voice their opinions, everybody to talk about their needs. So if communication in our family is not a problem, we talk about everything. But if communication in your family is a problem, then have just a family group meeting once a day or once a week. And then the person with a stone or an object in their hand, it could be a pencil, whatever you want to do, it could be a toy. Whoever's got the object in their hand can speak. Everybody else has to stay quiet.
Yep. I think it's great. I think we'll probably end up doing a podcast, especially on communication at some point as well, because it's such a big, broad topic and so important. I believe if people communicated better, it's like we said about self-love, if people communicated better, there'd be a heck of a lot less issues in the world. But that's for another day, maybe. But yeah, I think about how you can feel empowered today and tomorrow and the day after. Live by your values, live in integrity, and be congruent with what's on the outside and what's on the inside.
Definitely. I've got a quote from Maya Angelou. I love her. She's just so extraordinary, isn't she? I've learned that people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. So it is about our feelings, isn't it? It's about how we can empower other people. If you've got teenagers in the house or children, there are ways that you can empower them. If you're in a situation where you're feeling quite claustrophobic and they kind of want to break free or break the rules or break the boundaries, which we know that teenagers do want to do, there's several tools I've got here. So number one is listen to them. So when they speak, maybe speak back to them what they've said. What I understand you've said is this, am I right? So that they feel heard. Praise them for what they do. Try and not find the fact that their room is full of dirty washing, dirty cups and saucers, or that they haven't helped out with the chores today, praise them for the little thing that they did, which was just put their own plate in the dishwasher. Praise goes a long way. If they put one plate in the dishwasher, next time when you praise them, they might put two in. Give them information, let them know what's going on as well, because obviously we've talked about goal setting. What are the goals for the family? Forgive them quickly, because teenagers don't want to carry shame. Joe and I talk a lot about shame. Shame cripples teenagers. Forgive them, release them from something you think they've done wrong. They might not think they've done something wrong. Ask some questions, empower them by giving them choice, giving them a say in the household situation. You know, I'm going to shop today. Obviously you can't go to the shops, but I'm going to do the shopping. Is there anything you'd like? Give them choice, give them a voice. Show interest in what they're doing. Most of mine, I have to say, are shut away in their bedrooms. They shouldn't really be on devices, but I'm hoping they're on social media, talking to each other rather than gaming. That's a really difficult one. That is a really hard one. Lots of parents are asking me at the moment, how can you limit time on devices when previously to lockdown we had limited it? Now, obviously, there's increased time. That's a really difficult one. We'll do another session on that. Trust. Can you trust your teenagers? If you don't trust them, they pick up on it. Trust them, give them areas of responsibility so that they can grow and trust as well. Allow them to grow, don't restrict them. And also the biggest one here is role model. You role model through this time what you want them to do, how you want them to behave. Your response to this COVID outbreak is how they will respond. If you're in fear, they will be in fear. If you've got too much information you're giving them, they will be in overwhelm. So empower your teenagers, empower your children. I would say, and Joe would probably agree, restrict how much information. They don't need to know as much information as you do, because you're making decisions for them, especially if they're younger. If they're primary school, if they're intermediate school, they don't need all the information. They will just be in fear. They'll have nightmares at night. They might not show the fear, they might not talk about it, but they will be in overwhelm. Limit the information you give your children.
Great advice. All perfect. I like that. And I think the biggest one there was to listen, because all too often we are so good at not listening. We have two ears for a reason. Just remember to shut your mouth from time to time and actually listen to everybody in the household, not just your teenagers, but take time to actually listen to each other, because frustrations, emotions will come up. And if we can all just listen to each other, and as our Prime Minister says, just be kind.
Definitely.
If we can stick by that, it's very, very empowering in itself. Listen and be kind.
Yeah. One more topic I just wanted to raise there is that our essential workers do need support as well. We can't necessarily cook for them and take food around because obviously the health hazards, but how can we empower our essential workers? I've got a sister that's in palliative care in Auckland City Hospital. She is not living in fear, but she is obviously on the caution side, and she's not sitting at home in the comfort of security of not having contact with other people. How can we empower our essential workers? Send them messages, send them texts, just say you're doing so well. That means so much. If it's on the Facebook group, then do the same thing. Whatever you can do for our essential workers, just let them know they are so valued at this present time and doing such an amazing job.
Yeah. And for your friends and family, the same kind of thing. You know, if you've got, I know our Prime Minister yesterday said, you know, reach out to new mums and things like that, because there's going to be different groups of people who will struggle. And I just mentioned to a friend in the UK today, I just told that she was doing a great job, because her children, then she's not a new mum, but she's got children and they've gone back to having tantrums, you know, because they've had their whole routine whipped away from them. They don't know what's going on in the world. They've just been told they've got to stay indoors. It's crazy for them. How can these little 6-year-olds comprehend what's going on? They don't, so they play up instead, don't they? It's kind of one of their coping mechanisms with life. And I just said, you're doing such an amazing job. I said, please just sit in that feeling for a while. Give yourself a hug, give yourself a pat on the back, and know that you are doing an amazing job. Because all too often we kind of brush that kind of stuff off. Oh yeah, it's just what I do, you know, I'm just a mom or whatever. No, sit in the moment and think, I am doing a good job. As you said, we can say that to all the workers out there that are still going out there and fighting for this. But I think everybody's doing a great job. You're doing a great job, even if you're just staying at home and obeying the rules. You're doing a great job.
But Jo, it is particularly hard, isn't it, with lots of young children, because when they're tired, they're tired. When they're screaming, they're screaming. When they're having a tantrum, they're having a tantrum. It's so hard. I mean, I remember the days, and I wasn't in lockdown, I longed for the nursery morning where I got 2 hours free from one of my 4 children. So if you've got young children at home, our hearts go out to you. Maybe Skype grandma and get her on the screen to chat to the little ones so you can have 20 minutes off. or grandma can show them read them stories even online. I don't know, but I'm sure grandma can do something. But well done to all of you. And also to those of you that are waiting for operations that have had them cancelled because the healthcare system's had to restructure itself. If you're stuck at home and you're about to have an operation for a hip replacement, or you're going in for dialysis and can't have it, our hearts go up to you as well. As you say, Jo, there's so many people in very different situations. We're here to support you. Tomorrow's topic, Jo, what are we talking about tomorrow?
I don't know. It's always a surprise to us. We love surprises.
We're talking about peace, how to live in peace, serenity. I love peace. Love it. Don't get much of it, but peace is a great one.
And on that happy note, take care, everybody. Stay inside, stay safe, look after yourself, and feel empowered. Thanks so much for being with us today. For us to inspire others to live their magnificently imperfect life, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or on your podcast app. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Pods with Posh and Pool. We can't wait for you to join us on our next episode. Love, light and peace.